of the Greater Education Council of Connecticut and all-around crazy real estate agent. It is Monday, August 18th, the year of our Lord 2025. Shout out to Steve Bannon and all the others who hang in there on this crazy fight that we have in front of us. So as far as fights go, first of all, call to action, Yankee T News. Please subscribe. It's like Chinese water torture. We're getting these subscriptions here and there. We just need more. And as for good old Attorney General Tong, dude, you got some problems. And it's all the waters are rising. The waters are rising. We'll get into some of that later. Okay, but I'll tell you, all right, as also the chairman of the Greater Education Council of Connecticut, I need to tell you that we are confronted with a huge battle. So we have in the state of Connecticut this wonderful woman named Deborah Stevenson, who is the head of NHEL, the National Home Education Legal Defense Organization. And she caught wind of some rather sneaky, underhanded things that the Connecticut legislature are currently doing. So what does it come down to? Is that behind closed doors, the legislature is working on new laws that will begin to regulate homeschooling. Now, the problem is the way they start out seems rather benign. They're not asking a lot, but you know that they're going to ask more. And on top of that, for anybody who hasn't followed it, this all started in March this year, when there was a case involving a young man who died while being taken care of, this woman in Waterbury, Connecticut. Well, the Democrats immediately drew a connection between homeschooling and this situation, even though this woman never homeschooled this young man who she'd held in captivity all this time. And then they've tried to make the excuse that there have been a number of, quote, interventions from the Department of Children and Families, DCF as we call them. But there's more of a backstory to that as well. All right, so we've had all this thing going on. Then in May, there was an announcement for a, quote, informational hearing at the Legislative Office building in Hartford. How did that go? Thousands of parents and children turned out to speak out against what the legislature was trying to do. So you'd think they would have backed off, but no. What you have is a working group within the Education Committee and the state legislature trying to craft this new legislation, plus come up with a strategy that what it really amounts to is to entrap, okay, parents into this system that they're trying to create. So my message to the Education Committee is stop. You're going to eliminate and you're going to terminate everything that you're doing in this regard with respect to homeschooling. If you want to, quote, regulate homeschooling, you're going to have to come up with more constructive, proactive ideas than this. And I'll tell you that I and others look upon this in a very, well, cynical way. Because what the state legislature is doing, besides defending the teachers' unions who lose greatly to homeschooling, but also the fact that these state-controlled schools are mediocre and they're doing worse, okay? And what a surprise that you would find parents deciding to take the children out. I think we've gone from something on the order of 3% to 10% now, the total student population in Connecticut being involved in homeschooling. Now, I just want to tell you, having researched homeschooling, it is kind of a messy subject. There are no real clear lines. You'll find there are a number of groups here and there, and you're finding pop-up academies that parents are kind of putting things together in order to, share the costs and responsibilities of education. And it's just, I don't know. I mean, I would like to see something that's very clear and systematic, but it just doesn't work that way. Nonetheless, the fact of the matter is that the legislature cannot deal with the fact that the public school system, the state-controlled system, has competition. The competition is getting bigger. and in a funny way, stronger. And they don't like it. So now they're going to try and step in and do stuff like this. So my call to action, parents out there, is to hunt down the education committee. We'll have more on this next week. I'm going to have better data and stuff. But the point is to put pressure on them and tell them, no, you're not going to mess, hands off our homeschooling is what it comes down to. Okay, meantime, in no particular order, let's see, that's that. All right, the other thing I want to bring up, so I want to recommend this article that I looked at. It was in the American Thinker, and I'll read the title, Why Trump's Alaska Summit Was a Masterstroke of Leadership and Why the Left Can't Handle It. And I can certainly say from my flipping through the channels of various sources, whether it's CNN or MSNBC, which, oh, by the way, if you didn't hear, the MS part is parting company with the NBC part. There goes that peacock logo. That's too bad. Now they're going to call themselves, what are they going to call themselves now, Eric?
MS Now.
That's right, MS Now. Oh, wow, I can hardly wait. Boy, I'm going to have to tune into that, MS Now. My ass. Okay, so I just had to get that out of my system. But the point is, you would see these people saying that Trump was weak, Putin was walking all over him, he accomplished nothing, he just kept pedaling back. No, it's not working, guys, okay? These people, while they're busy trashing Trump, just show that they have no appreciation for the nature of negotiation, especially when you have a high level of conflict like this. You would think that they would try to address that, but they don't. All they're doing is looking for any opportunity to jump all over. But anyway, I'll recommend this article. Meantime, I wanted to mention this thing that I had no idea about. Oh my goodness. Has anybody ever heard of the Greater Israel Project? You have. Well, that's because you're the champ when it comes to conspiracy theories. The problem is, this is no conspiracy theory. This is the real deal. Oh my God, are you serious? Okay, so let me, just to make the point, as the name might suggest, for some time now, the government of Israel has had plans in the works for expanding the geographic boundaries of Israel. Okay, so the obvious thing is take over Gaza, take over the West Bank, but no, they're talking about, we're going to take some territory from Syria, we're going to take some from Jordan, we'll even take something from Egypt. What? Okay, so let me try to put just briefly some historical perspective on this. So the Wikipedia section, I think, does a pretty good job here. The point is that when you look at the biblical history of Judaism in the Old Testament, you do come across these cases where it is said that God promised them land, and it was spelled out what that land would be. Well, that's not what the map for Israel looks like today, but there's been this long-running expectation within the Jewish religion, Jewish community, that they're owed some land, okay? But the Greater Israel Project doesn't seem to take account of these biblical versions. They just are looking at the area and saying, yeah, we want to be able to take these things. Meantime, I just want to throw in another little tidbit here.
They didn't have any land for 2,000 years, and they did just fine.
Well, fine at a price, I would add. So, also the Red Heifer Project, I don't know if anybody's aware of that. So now we get these, there was a whole show about this years ago. People were very afraid of this idea that these Jewish rabbis were going to resurrect the Temple of Solomon, the Temple of Jerusalem. And the key moment to bring this about was the sacrifice of a pure red heifer. Well, that's happened. So is something else unusual going to happen? I don't know. But my parting question before I move on to the next thing here is, how does this Greater Israel Project bump up against the Abraham Accords? Okay, so Israel's trying to establish itself in the greater Mideastern area. The Abraham Accords, I think a lot of people, myself included, think that this is a brilliant approach. So far, 6 Arab countries have signed on to the Arab Accords to recognize Israel and to work with them. It's a good start. Okay, but how are you going to square that with this idea that these guys are going to take territory? Do you think these Arab countries are going to be okay with that? They'll probably want to get out of the Abraham Accords. So I have questions. I have questions, just to say. Okay. Meantime, yeah, all right. I'm kind of jumping all over the place here a little bit. Okay, I'm going to be coming back to this. I have been bitching time and again now about artificial intelligence, if you've been paying attention, okay? And unfortunately, what I'm seeing is more of the same, right? Hallucination, false information, okay? Racist comments, manipulation of the person interacting with. That this continues, okay? But now we have some other things to talk about. Meta being caught, if that's the right word for it, where there's evidence that they allow children to have sensual conversations with the Metabot, if you will. And it's just, this is out of control. This should not be happening. Meta's under pressure. I don't know if they're going to fix it. But stuff like this is really raising the question, should we be limiting access to things like the Metabot if they're going to do things like this? In other words, an age limit, that have to be punishment, there have to be laws about this. It's, yeah, so anyway, so there's that. Now let me move on to this next story here. Okay, now I just, errata, E-R-R-A-T-A, errata, I have to make a correction here. On our links, which will be up on our website, I had indicated that it was a judge who'd issued a ruling that was flawed because he used AI for the ruling. I'm sorry, it was the lawyer who did it. And the problem is that's not the first time this has happened now. We've had lawyers try this and they're getting caught doing it. But guys, Jesus. Anyway, okay, so just the headline, lawyer Rishi Nathwani departs from the Supreme Court of Victoria because the poor boy got into a little hot water because he too had issued a brief that had false information in it, fabricated legal references and statements that are just absolutely not true. So it caused a delay in the case, but it happened. And so nobody's learning here. Okay, so stop with using AI in the law. This is not smart. Okay, and all you're doing is doubling your work because now you have to go back and check what it did when you thought everything was taken care of by it. The other problem here, and it's becoming a bigger problem, is we're going to call this AI-induced psychosis, okay? AI-induced psychosis. So let me just, I'm going to grab here as a highlight a point here. When conversation becomes crisis, we're having more and more examples of where people have been, I'm going to say made mentally ill because of their interactions. And psychosis is one of the consequences, it seems. Now, just 4 examples here. Grandiose delusions. The AI said, I'm chosen to spread truth. Paranoia. It warned me that others are spying. Disassociation. It understands me better than any human. And that's a big problem, by the way. And compulsive engagement. I can't stop talking to it, all right? In addition, you may or may not have seen these other stories where it was an older man who had fallen in love with this character, and then what? He got into an accident and died?
Ended up killing himself.
Or it was a suicide. And then there was a young teenage girl where the same thing happened. No, there's clearly a serious problem here, and it's not being addressed. And I think, ladies and gentlemen, if you, like me, are a big fan of CNBC, the investment channel, okay, you listen to, they constantly talking about all the great things, all the money's being thrown in, what these companies are doing, what Sam Altman has to say next, what Elon Musk has to say next, even though Grok sucks. And there's a disconnect, okay? There is a big disconnect here. and I'm not quite sure how to analyze it, all right? I can just tell you that there's a discordance from where I sit. You have all these expectations. You have people kind of reporting interesting little applications and things here and there, but it's not, no. Anyway, I'm going to be touching on AI again as I go through this. All right, right now I need to bring up my heroine, Tina Peters. All right, so to those who may not remember, Tina Peters was the Secretary of State for Colorado, who is the only one. Okay, this is what you have to keep in mind. She is the only one who, in the 2020 election, actually kept a perfect copy of all the ballots, all the ballot images for that election in Colorado. Okay, she's kept that tucked away someplace. And I mean, anybody who's followed this closely knows that the vast majority of cases that were brought were kicked out on basis of standing, which is absurd, but they were. And the fact of the matter is, even with all the incredible stuff that went on in Georgia, nowhere has there, I think there might have been one case maybe, I don't know what happened to it, but nowhere has there been a judge who said, bring me the evidence. Bring me the evidence. And let me tell you, if they bring the evidence for Colorado, serious problems are going to ensue, because that is the one record that will show, in fact, in detail, in technical detail, how the 2020 election was stolen using the election machines. Okay, knowing that, the Democrats who run Colorado want to make damn sure that Tina stays in jail. All right, so she's had a run of it starting in April. I think Trump and Pam Bondi started to try, exercising some sort of federal authority over this, although it's a state case. They didn't really seem to get anywhere. So now the latest is a gentleman I mentioned last week. His name is Peters Ticktin, T-I-C-K-T-I-N, Peters Ticktin. He's an older lawyer who has, quote, as they say, parachuted in. And so the approach that he's now taken in an effort to get Tina out of jail and enable her to speak, I mean, this is right on the mark. So I got to give it to him. But the game plan that will go on. Okay. So Ticktin, this is the key quote. This is the pull quote. Ticktin has filed a federal habeas corpus petition in the U.S. District of Colorado, arguing that Peters' ongoing incarceration violates her First Amendment rights. Yeah. So what are those First Amendment rights? Somehow there has to be a venue where all this evidence can be brought forth and verified in some fashion. And so that's what we're waiting for with Tina. Okay, I'm jumping around. So let me just mention here, the food additive of the week is BHA. I love molecules. I love chemical terminology.
Hi, good to see you.
All right. Hey, Wilm. All right. Hey, Wilm. Okay. All right. So you see this, butylated hydroxyanisole, BHA. It is a preservative. So the point of a preservative is to be an antioxidant. It captures and I don't know if it sequesters oxygen atoms, but it's been in use since 1947. And oh boy, we got more company here. So that's right. Look, Eric doesn't have to want to edit this, right? Okay. Yeah. Okay. So you got it. All right, ladies and gentlemen, when it comes to good health, you have to read the labels. Read the labels, all right? And the rule is, the fewer the ingredients, the more likely it's healthy, all right? And again, if you find names on it you can't figure out, like BHA, probably shouldn't be eating it. So BHA is used in cereals, processed meats, snack foods, baked goods, vegetable oils, chewing gum, instant soups and noodles, and frozen foods. So that's how common it is, BHA, and it's usually used in conjunction with BHT, especially snack foods. So again, I tell you, I beseech you, read the labels, okay? Choose wisely if we're going to make America healthy again. And speaking of making America healthy again, I've been trying to figure this out. All right, we're back to Connecticut again. All right, so I'm not a fan of Chairman Ben Proda, but I'm going to give him a compliment. He's doing a little bit better job being a bulldog going after the Democrats. Okay, so did you see the ad, Eric? Ryan Fazio?
Oh, yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay, so this was the Democrat version of trolling Ryan Fazio, who's running for governor of Connecticut. Maybe you could try and put it up. It's still hard to see. Okay, so what they put up were those two pictures. On one side, you see him posing at it's a good cafe, good coffee cafe.
Coffee for good.
Coffee for good. Okay, this is one of these fabulous food outlets where they hire special needs people, giving them, something to do, a sense of worth and value. It's great stuff, right? So what do the Democrats do? They decide to make fun of the special needs kids. So what they have here is in this other photo, it shows Ryan Fazio standing next to Donald Trump, and he says, I voted for the president. I have great respect for his service and patriotism, which is a slam on these kids standing there with him, okay? This is maybe they're being clever, maybe they're being too clever by half, but the point is, that for the longest time, Democrats like to tease us as being extra chromosome people, AKA retarded. Retarded! And so this is their approach. So you know what, Democrats, if you want to keep doing stuff like this where you're spitting on special needs kids, I think you're going to hear from some people you didn't expect to hear from. Keep it in mind. NASA wakes up Voyager 1. Can you imagine sending a signal, such as tiny, weak wattage, for 24 billion kilometers? And then Voyager 1 receives that signal and it turns on the thrusters? That's, wow. Okay, what next? All right, so I had to share that with you. Now, another piece of what we'll call technical good news. There's a story here about this woman who'd had a stroke for 18 years, and by using, there was an implant, and using AI, she was able to get her voice back. She'd lost her voice after the stroke. Now she can speak. So that's pretty cool. And then now we wandered into this iffy area again. So for anybody who studied neural networks, which are misnamed AI, you'll know that there's this interesting gentleman. He's called the godfather of AI. His name is Geoffrey Hinton. He has a research institute at the University of Toronto called Vector Institute. And now he's come out, he's expressed a lot of concern about the direction of AI, which is really neural networks. And then he's made a statement where he thinks that these machines should care for us like babies. I don't know.
Machines will care for us.
It's got a little matrix ring to it, you know what I mean. This is not good. So, okay, I put up the link, but this is not, all right, what I'm trying to say here is Geoffrey Hinton, he was the godfather of AI, he's kind of going down this path where he's not thinking correctly about this and its implications, all right? Treating us like babies. I don't know. Anyway, I mean, I say that recognizing you have lots of robots in development. They're going to be used for senior care, right? And it's going to be a good substitute for healthcare aides. Maybe we'll see. All right. Meantime, I need to bring up a name. Okay. Right now, I just need to remind you that we are broadcasting from Stamford, Connecticut. Now, Stamford, Connecticut has approximately 6 state representative districts, one of which is the 145th district. And the state representative of that 145th district is, I'm not sure if I want to call him colorful, maybe questionable, but he's certainly heading for trouble. Corey Paris. I don't know how many people here remember Corey Paris. Anybody remember Corey Paris at all? No?
No.
Okay, so the backstory of Corey Paris is that he suddenly found himself dropped into the state representative race in a special election.
What year?
That's what I'm trying to remember. I want to say 2018.
Oh.
I think it was April 2018, if I remember correctly. It was Alan was here, because we were helping the The Republican candidate against him was J.D. Ospina, who lost. Oh well. So what else is new? It was another heavily Democrat district. In any event, he got in a little trouble because he kind of fouled up his voter registration thing, living in one place, voting in another. That would usually be regarded as a felony, but of course he was forgiven. Fast forward to today, Corey Paris is showing up in the news and in ways he doesn't like. That is just too bad.
Where?
I'll explain. So, how a Berlin couple got billed for Connecticut legislators' Easy Pass tolls. That's right, ladies and gentlemen. What I'm suggesting here is that it's Corey Paris's Easy Pass bills that have been sent to this Berlin couple. Now, how did that happen? Well, for reasons no one's been able to explain yet, if you are a legislator, okay, and you are from a particular district as a state senator or as a state representative, you get a license plate that has the number of your district on there, okay? So his is 145. So his plate says 145. Now, for reasons, but it has a definite look to it. It has the state seal, it's a certain color, there's some other designs on it. Meantime, here we have a couple from Berlin who has an ordinary license plate that has 145 on it. Well, how did that happen? I have no idea. So, however the billing system is structured, I guess it's because legislators are exempted, perhaps, but it sees the 145 and it sent all these bills, hundreds of dollars of Easy Pass toll bills to them, okay? So I haven't heard about Corey calling up and saying, gee guys, I'm so sorry, we'll take care of this. No, not Corey. So let's finish Corey off because we're hoping Corey's finished. Now, Corey decided to take it a step too far. And by the way, Attorney General William Tong, I have been warning you, referring to Connecticut, your denial that Connecticut is a sanctuary state is not working in your favor. It does not match the facts of the case. And one of those facts is Corey Paris, who's gotten into a little trouble. It seems he was caught doxing ICE agents in Stamford.
He what?
It was doxing,
Yeah.
spreading the word.
Yeah.
Look out.
Time what?
So, for whatever reason, good old Corey Paris has been referred by the DOJ for investigation.
Wow.
Okay? Yes, I would agree. So, Mr. Harris, you have done some naughty things, and I think it would be entirely appropriate that you go to jail. And while you're at it, maybe you'll have a bunkmate there too, named William Tong. We can only hope.
Yay.
Yes. All right. So again, we see too many examples of criminality. I mentioned last week this person has been caught 3 times now, who's a state representative, was shoplifting from a Target store. Anyway, we have our other criminal here, criminal at large. Remember Wanda Geeter Pataki. If you've been following her at all, she was the one who had stuffed the ballots into the boxes in Bridgeport. And okay, so we've had 2 cases related to that. There's another case with her because she was illegally marrying illegals. And then this new case here is because there is a case against her pending concerning election fraud. And one of the witnesses in the case, she tried to go talk to. No. Witness tampering is against the law, Wanda. Surely you know that.
Did they catch her at it?
Yeah, they did.
Good.
Yes, they did. She's been arrested again.
But she's
Okay,
probably out
can we just cut to the chase here? If you keep catching her like this, put her in jail. Wow. All right, let's see here. I'm down to 2, all right? Just got 2 more here, guys. All right, there's a great piece. I put it up. There's this, his name is Daniel Greenfield, one of the best columnists in the country. Knowledgeable, has these rich, complex analyses. I love what he does. And so he goes by the pen name Sultan Kanish. which I think is pretty funny. In any event, so the title is The Voting Rights Act is Illegal Racial Gerrymandering. So basically it's a critique of what has gone on with the Voting Rights Act. The Voting Rights Act was passed 60 years ago, okay? And to say that enforcement of that Voting Rights Act has been a little spotty would be an understatement, okay? So just definitely go check this out, and especially in light of all the arguments over gerrymandering. I need to add another factor here for you people to think about. If anything, the Democrats have been fanatical in their abuse of gerrymandering. Consider New England, okay? Maine, New Hampshire, Vermont, Rhode Island, Massachusetts, Connecticut. We do not have one single Republican representative from any of those states, okay? All Democrat. And here's the way to understand it. When you look at the percent of the population that is of a particular party affiliation, you'll find 30, 35, 40%. And even with that percentage, we do not have any federal representation in
Connecticut's
Congress.
41%.
Something like that.
No, it is, I saw it.
Yeah, so it's
And no representation.
okay. We're in church, can't you tell? Okay, anyway. So it's a common problem, and you see it also if you look at California. That's another example where approximately 40% of the voters are Republican, but it's something like 5 out of 50 of the congressional seats are Republican. So there's clearly an issue here, and maybe this is a fight that's coming to a head. I certainly hope so, but it's not right. Anyway, I just had to share that with you. And then I just need to remind, so we've seen this now that ICE is, now that the federal government has taken over DC, which is a federal district anyway, now we see these paid protesters coming out in huge numbers. Now, I don't have the numbers in front of me, but a huge portion of Washington, D.C. is inhabited by folks who are black. And it's where these people live that you see the majority of the crime. However, these protests, these paid protesters, they're all white. Isn't that kind of discriminatory? Should you be paying some black protesters? But no, they're paying white protesters. It's all phony, it's all astroturf, and it's really annoying. But all I can say is, this is what we voted for President Trump, and I hope you keep it up, and I hope this spreads to the other major cities, and I hope I will be talking to you next week. Thanks a lot. Well, thank you.
You had some good points there.